also known as productions. Other people call them production rules, rewrite rules, if-then rules. There's many ways to label these rules in a grammar. Okay? Now this particular grammar, G1, has 3 of these rules. Okay? Now usually these rules are written under each other, like 1 rule per line. But you know I try to, that's inefficient. I try to fill up my square because otherwise I'm just wasting space. I try to keep it fairly dense. So I didn't do that. I just put them all on one line. So you have 3 rewrite rules or substitution rules, or productions or production rules, or if-then rules. Right? I think SIPSA ends up just talking about rules, right? So what the syntax of a rule? What do they look like? Well, each rule appears as a line in the grammar. Well, that's the usual convention. I have not I haven't met that convention here. Haven't used it because I've put them all 3 on one line. But that's a pretty, like in the text, it's a pretty strong convention. One rule. One substitution rule per line, or 1 line per rule. Okay. Now, so they all seem to have an arrow in the middle, right? And they have a left side and a right side, left side, right side, left side, right side. So that seems to be the pattern. Okay. So, so a rule comprises a symbol and a string. So that'd be the symbol. Right? Symbol on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand a string. String of what? Characters, symbols. Well, now, so you have a symbol and a string. String is what's on the right-hand side, okay? And the symbol and the string, symbol, string, are separated by an arrow. Okay, that's what a substitution rule looks like. All right. Now the symbol, the one on the left-hand side, is called a variable. It can vary. In other words, the value that it can take can vary. Like, go back to middle school algebra. You had like 2x is 4, so the value of x is 2. Or you might have 3x is 4, so the value of x would then be 4 over 3. So a variable can take on different values. The values it can take on can vary, can change, can be different. Okay? So similar the same. Similar here. All right. Okay. So these symbols here are called variables because they can take on different values. They can take on what's on the right hand side can vary. Now, this may sound a bit vague and confusing, but you'll understand it pretty readily, pretty soon, just by doing lots of examples. You'll quickly learn how to manipulate a grammar, how to use a grammar. In other words, how to use this set of substitution rules. All right. Now, in the string, you may have variables like here. Or what are called terminals, and they're usually just a terminal is just a symbol from your alphabet, effectively. Right? And why are they called terminals? As though it's the end. Well, they can no longer be substituted any further. You can't rewrite them in terms of something else. That's the end of the line. They're like the terminus, the last stop on a bus route. Okay, so terminals, like the 0 and 1 here, they're terminals. You can't rewrite them further. You can't replace them by some other string, let's say. All right. Now the variable symbols, they're often represented by capital letters, like here, and the others, they're called terminals. Right? They cannot be rewritten. So saying here, the terminals are sort of analogous to the input alphabet, the symbols in your alphabet. And they're usually represented by lowercase letters, like smaller letters. Well, we haven't got any here. But also numbers, special symbols, right? Now, one of the variables is called the start variable, because you start with some kind of string, in this case variable, and then you substitute it with something else, and so on and so on. And we haven't done it yet, but you'll see soon in the next session. How this is done. All right. So you apply well, you start with a start variable. That's what it's called, start variable, and you apply a substitution rule to it, and using that substitution rule, your start variable will get replaced by the right-hand side of the rule that you use. Now, you'll see this. We'll do it quite a few times, and you'll see how it's done. So if you're getting a bit, just a minute. If you're a bit confused now, don't worry. It will clarify fairly soon. Right. Now this start variable usually is the left-hand side of the first rule in your list. So this would be your start variable, A, capital A, right? Capital A. Now this set of three, that's your grammar, G1, call it G1. So G1 has three rules, right? Three substitution rules, 1, 2, 3. Okay? And the variables are A and B. Right? And A is the start variable, this one here. And the terminal variables, the ones that can't be rewritten, can't be substituted, would be 0 and 1. I guess this hash symbol. If you're not a native English speaker, why is this called the hash? H-A-S-H, where does it come from? Well, in ordinary English, to hash something up, it's like chop it up into small pieces. Like you can hash meat. Like you might have a big hunk of meat, and you chop it into small pieces. So you might have a chopping board, big piece of wood, and you have a heavy sort of chopping knife, well, not knife, like almost like a little axe, and you put the meat on. You put the meat on the chopping block, and then you hash it, you chop it into pieces. So you go chop, 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 and then you maybe turn the chopping board 90 degrees, and then chop, 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 chop again. Well, the chopping with your chopper will leave marks in the block of wood. Maybe a bit like this. Right? So chop, chop that way, and chop, chop that way. So that's the hashing marks. The marks left from hashing the meat on the chopping board. Okay, so that's good. So that symbol is just called hash. Okay, that's where it comes from. If you didn't know. Right. Well, that's the end of this session. So.